to Cody Talks NFL, presented by Blitzalytics.com. And here's your host, Cody Manning.
Hey, welcome into Cody Talks NFL. We're back. It's week 9. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys have caught up on some sleep since Tuesday night. Things are finally starting to slow down in the election. So if your team won, kudos to you. But let's all just get along and enjoy the rest of this football season. Can we at least all agree on that? I'm going to go ahead and get into today's episode, though. It's going to be like it is every week. It's going to be quick after last night's game, but I'm going to quickly recap the Thursday night game between the Packers and 49ers. I am going to hand out my Blitzalytics prospect player of Thursday Night Football. There is no new news on the bye team, so that section will be very quick. And then I preview all the Sunday games, starting with the 1 p.m. slot time, heading over to the 4 p.m. slot time, the Sunday night game, and the Monday night preview. So I am going to go ahead and get into this episode today, guys. Last night's game, it happened how everybody thought it was going to happen. The Packers kind of walked to an easy victory. Green Bay won 34-17 over the San Francisco 49ers. And that's what we should have thought was going to happen, because not only, prior to Tuesday or Wednesday, Jimmy G and George Kittle were pretty much ruled done for the season. And then they are already out of a Deebo Samuel. Tevin Coleman came back on Sunday and got hurt after like 4 snaps. He was already ruled out. And then Kendrick Bourne tested positive. So him and his high-risk close contacts were ruled out for the game, including a Brandon Ayuk. Trent Williams, which showed up on a couple of those sacks last night, the lack of not having him in that offensive line. And I think there was a couple other players too. So it was a completely mismatch for the 49ers, especially on the offensive side of the ball, and that showed up throughout the night. The Packers, this is who they are, right? We kind of already know that they're right. As of right now, they're the team they were last year, right? They're going to beat the bad teams. They're going to win the games they're supposed to win outside of that game against the Vikings. But we just needed them to see them show up when it counts, when they do face a playoff caliber team, because the 49ers, they're not that right now with all the injuries they have. So, but the Packers are sitting on top of the NFC North. They control their fate. But for me to really buy into them as a potential NFC championship winner, I need to see them take on some better teams going forward. But we got to see Aaron Rodgers be Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams being Devontae Adams, and how about Aaron Jones being Aaron Jones? Everybody, they're talking about like, oh, he's going to get limited snaps. He looked just fine to me. Come on, don't play the chess games with us, Matt LaFleur. And then as far as the 49ers, when they get some guys back healthy, I'm sure they're going to be a team under Kyle Shanahan that could upset any team on any given week. I'll say this, they have Trent Williams last night. They have Brandon Ayuk, Kendrick Bourne, even with Nick Mullins at quarterback. I mean, I think this game would have been a little bit closer, because the Packers did kind of start off slow. But then once Nick Mullins threw that interception after the pressure from Preston Smith, and then Raven Green got the interception, that kind of just changed the momentum, where the Packers walked away with the victory. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up last night's game. As always, I give out the Blitzalytics prospect player of Thursday Night Football. For everybody that's been listening to me all year, usually you guys know I try to give it to the winning team. But the Packers just didn't have anybody from the book that really completely showed out. Sure, Raven Green, he got the interception, but he didn't have a good stat line. Oren Brooks led in tackles, but it wasn't like he was flying all over, making big-time splash plays. So I decided to go with a guy that had a good stat line on the 49ers side of the ball, that took advantage of those wide receivers being out with the injury, and I'm going to give it to Richie James from the 49ers. He had 9 receptions for 184 yards and a touchdown. It seemed like anytime Nick Mullins was tossing the ball, he was just wide open with nobody near him. He had that big touchdown gain as well in the fourth quarter, which I'm sure plenty of betting people that bet the over were happy that he found that end zone. As always, though, I'm going to read the overview section for Richie James. This was done by our own CEO here at Blitz, Jack Bourgeois. He wrote this section. He wrote, James is a return specialist with quick twitch athleticism and proven big play ability. He is a reliable depth piece at wide receiver who found offensive snaps in 19 of the 20 games last season. James will likely never be more than a fourth or fifth option at wideout, but his well-rounded skill set and countless splash play and clutch situations have likely locked him into a contributing role moving forward. So Jack was very spot on with his report. Like, we really didn't see much of him this year because he was buried beneath those other guys on the depth chart. But then those guys had to miss this game because either being injured or being on the list. And he had a good night as far as a statistical standpoint. They didn't really win, but kudos to Jack on hitting on Richie James' report in the Blitzlytics Prospect Encyclopedia. Speaking of that, if you want to read these reports on guys like Richie James that showed out last night, guys that you might not know of, go order this. It's the Blitzlytics Prospect Encyclopedia book. You can go to blitzlytics.com/shop. This hard copy full of reports is only $35. It's on the top 22 players on all 32 NFL teams from the last 3 draft classes that have 12 regular season starts or less. It's only $35 for the hard copy. If you just want the PDF, it's only $15, or you can get an individual team PDF for $5. Again, Christmas is right around the corner. Perfect gift for a football fan, especially if somebody plays Dynasty and wants to get to know those guys that are under the radar like Richie James. I'm going to go ahead and keep this episode moving for you guys. Like I said, the teams on the bye week, they didn't really have any news that came out this week. The Bengals, the Browns, the Eagles, and Rams are all on the bye. And when it's a bye week, no news is good news. And then I'm going to go ahead and get into these 1 p.m. games. We got the Giants traveling to Washington to face the football team. As far as no news for either team, with the injury report throughout the week on the Giants side, Ryan Lewis has not practiced with a hamstring. These following 5 players have been limited for New York: Devontae Freeman with an ankle, Devontae Downs with a shoulder, Blake Martinez with a hamstring, Logan Ryan with a hip, and Sterling Shepard with a shoulder and toe. And then on the Washington side, these 2 players have not practiced this week: Jaron Christian with a toe, Dontrell Inman with a hamstring. As far as this game, it's probably going to be the last time just like the last time these 2 teams faced when the Giants won. It's going to be a low-scoring NFC East battle that features 2 solid defenses, 2 offenses that are struggling, and 2 teams that are just not over the edge right now where they're going to be super competitive with other teams. Let's see. Let's start with the football team since they are at home. They're coming off the bye week, but they have plenty of time to maybe turn around the season and chase the Eagles to win the NFC East. They have a 2-5 record. Antonio Gibson, last time we saw him, had his breakout game, so I'm interested in seeing how they're going to use him. He's going to have a tough matchup going against this Giants defense. As I have said all season, this Giants defense, it's not amazing, it's not great, but it's very solid, and they play fast underneath Joe Judge. So it's going to be a tough matchup for the Washington offense. Their offensive line, it's average at best, so they're going to struggle during the day. They're going to, Antonio Gibson's going to have to find small lanes to run through. And then their only really threat right now is Terry McLaurin from the wide receiver position. And then James Bradbury is a great corner who's having a great season for New York. So if they stick him on McLaurin, it's going to be very difficult to move the ball through the air, kind of just like we saw last time when these 2 teams played. But I do think this offense, it has grown since the previous time they played. I do think Kyle Allen's I'm not saying he's going to, take them to the playoffs, but I think he's getting more comfortable now as he started the last few games. So I think they are going to find some success throughout the day. But I think it's going to be more field goals than touchdowns. Like I said, I think it's going to be more of a low scoring game, but I don't know if this offense will play as bad as they did last time against New York. And then you switch sides of the ball. The Giants offense is so hit and miss. One drive, Daniel Jones looks amazing. He's making great throws, making great decisions. Everything's bouncing their way. And then the next drive, Daniel Jones will get hit and fumble, or, he throws a pass to Evan Ingram and he can't catch it and it bounces into another guy's hands, or their offensive line doesn't give him any time to perform. Now, that offensive line is coming off one of their better performances from this past Monday night, so maybe they can carry that into this matchup, but they do have a tough matchup. Chase Young, Montez Sweat are forming one of the better rush tandems so far in Young's career. Well, Sweat's in his second year, I believe. So by next year, they could be named as one of the top pass rush tandems in the league. Got a great interior of the defense, so it's going to be already very difficult for a lack of a running game to get any type of run going. So it is going to come down to Daniel Jones in the passing game. They do have a tough matchup against that Washington secondary, who has been slowing down wide receivers this year. Maybe Evan Ingram can take advantage of the lack of the linebackers there in Washington, and he can have a good game. He was pretty solid this past Monday night. Now, I do think it's going to be I think they're going to be like Washington, right? They're going to find ways to get down to the red zone, but I feel like they're going to end up settling for field goals more than touchdowns. I do think this is going to come down to the fourth quarter and who has the ball last. The Giants got the last game. I do think these teams would more than likely split the series, so I want to lean towards the football team. I think I'm going to take the football team. I feel like they're coming off the bye week. They're a healthier team. I can't trust Daniel Jones until he stops the turnovers. So if he can ever stop the turnovers, I do think the Giants can turn things around this season. Not in a turn things around and make the playoffs, but those teams that can turn things around and finish the season strong, and they have promise to next year. I could see that happening with New York. But I'm going to go with Washington right now. I think they find a way to just kick a field goal at the end of the game and win. Like I said, I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. Washington wins a 20-17 type of win on Sunday. I'm going to go ahead and get into this next matchup. We got the Bears traveling out down to Tennessee to face the Titans. Little note on the Titans, they did release Jonathan Joseph and Vic Beasley this week, but they did trade for Desmond King. They sent a 6th-round pick to the Chargers. So they released a couple guys that were supposed to be a part of their defense for the year because that defense has actually struggled throughout most of the season. Now let's take a look at the injury report on the Chicago side of things. They have a number of guys that haven't practiced. John Jenkins with a toe, Sam Mustipher with a knee, Roy Robertson Harris with a shoulder, Mitch Trubisky with a shoulder, and Cody Whitehair with a calf, as well as Cole Kmet with a groin. These 3 guys have been limited this week. Deshaun Gibson with a foot, Eddie Jackson with a knee, and then Anthony Miller with a toe. And then Titans have a fair share of their injuries. All these players have not practiced. Jadeveon Clowney with a knee, Adam Humphries with a concussion, Dennis Kelly with a knee, Brett Kern with a wrist, Jeffrey Simmons with an ankle, and then A.J. Brown with a knee. It's a pretty interesting matchup. Both teams, they started off pretty well this year, and the last couple games they have kind of came back down to earth. Let's start with Tennessee. They're trying to figure themselves out now on the defensive side of the ball as well. I feel like the offense, Derrick Henry has had a couple good games, but it's kind of been inconsistent. Now the last 2 games they've lost, they have been missing Taylor Lewan. So I could see the offensive line that is not up to play for them. And they do have a tough matchup against the Chicago defense. It's going to be on Ryan Tannehill, though. He's going to have to bounce back and be the guy that we are seeing in the first 5 games. He's going to have to pick apart this secondary. I think the Bears secondary is good, right? They got Kyle Fuller. I like the rookie Jalen Johnson. And they got Eddie Jackson in the back, but there are some holes in the middle of that defense when they pass the ball. So they need to try to get Jonnu Smith going. I know he's kind of disappeared as of late. A.J. Brown should play. As I mentioned, every Thursday he has a DNP, so I wouldn't stress on that. So if A.J. Brown and Corey Davis can get going, Jonnu Smith can get going, then what that will do is that will open up lanes in the third and fourth quarter for Derrick Henry so they could try to run the ball down Chicago's throat. But I do think Chicago has a defense to contain and slow down this Tennessee offense. So I think this is going to be a game where the Titans can score about 2 to 3 touchdowns on offense, but I feel like it's going to be that they're going to have to settle for more field goals, and they're going to have to rely on their defense to make stops. But their defense is going against a terrible Bears offense. This is like a strength on strength and a weakness on a weakness matchup we got going on, because Chicago's offense, I don't know what to talk about it. David Montgomery can't get anything going. Nick Foles is not the Nick Foles that the Bears wanted him to be, which I could have told you that wasn't going to work out. And then Allen Robinson will always be great, but if you don't have a quarterback that can consistently throw him the ball, he's not going to make much of an impact. So with that being said, they do kind of have a get right type of matchup. Maybe they can find an identity. Maybe they can find something against Tennessee. Tennessee, they have struggled throughout the year. They can't get any pressure to Davion Clowney. Hasn't lived up to the hype. Plus, he is hurt. Jeffrey Simmons has been having a great year, but he can't do everything on his own. I'd like to see Harold Landry emerge more. He's kind of been inconsistent as a pass rusher in his career. You know, 1 week he looks great. 1 week you don't hear from him. And then obviously they got good linebackers, but the thing is they can't stop the pass at times. And I believe Desmond King, I don't think he'll work. He got traded on Monday. There's like a 5-day window, but more than likely, I don't think he'll play this week. They just released Joseph. So, can Allen Robinson get going? Anthony Miller, Darnell Mooney, can they maybe find any type of passing attack in Chicago? I really don't see it happening. I can't until the Bears offense is going to be one of those offenses I don't trust going forward until I see it happen. But maybe they do find some drives because the Tennessee's defense has been struggling the last 2 weeks. But I don't think they're going to score enough touchdowns to win this game. So I am going to go ahead and pick the winner. I do think Tennessee wins in a low-scoring defensive affair, just because I don't think they will be successful throughout the afternoon against that Chicago defense. But I trust their offense. I trust Ryan Tannehill right now over a Nick Foles. So I think the Titans squeeze out a win, I see them winning like a 21-17 type of win for Tennessee. And then I'm going to go ahead and get this moving. We got Detroit traveling out to Minnesota. No news on either team. Let's go ahead and look at the injury report for the Lions. These 4 players have not practiced. Jamal Agnew with the ribs, Kenny Galladay with a hip. He's already expected to miss. Tracy Walker with a foot, and Joe Dahl with a back. And these following guys have been limited for Detroit. We got Taylor Decker with a back, Christian Jones with a knee, Darrell Roberts with a hip and groin, Danny Shelton with a wrist, Desmond Trufant with a hamstring, and Big V with the foot. On the Viking side, these 3 players have not practiced. We got Holden Hill with a foot, Mark Fields with a chest, Cameron Dancer with a concussion, and these 2 guys have been limited, Harrison Hand with a hamstring, and Dan Chesina with a hip. Now, this is a bottom dweller matchup. Teams that are more likely going to miss the playoffs, but maybe one of them can get on a run, especially with 7 teams going to be able to make the playoffs, possibly even 8 if we have any cancellations or delays to the season because of the pandemic. But let's see here. On the Vikings, they're coming off a big win against the Packers, and they might be able to keep things rolling against this Detroit team. Detroit's going to be without Kenny Galladay. Matthew Stafford is not practicing all. I didn't put this in the script, but he's not practicing all week because he was a close contact with somebody. But the expectation is he's going to play on Sunday, assuming that he passed all his tests leading up till game day. So I am going to preview this game like Matthew Stafford is playing, but Matthew Stafford won't have Kenny Galladay. That offense has been very inconsistent all year. 1 week they look great, and then last week, they got shut down by the Colts offense. Sure, they got a couple drives. Colts defense. Sure, they had a couple drives where it worked out for them, but more times than not, there was a lot of 3-and-outs, and they struggled to find any identity. But they are going against the Vikings. The Vikings defense has struggled throughout the year. They cannot stop the pass. And if Matthew Stafford can get anything going to Marvin Jones, TJ Hawkinson, they're going to be able to move the ball. I think they are going to have times where they're going to pick apart the secondary of Minnesota, and they're going to have those opportunities to get those touchdowns. And then you flip sides of the ball. Minnesota, if they can run like they did last week with Dalvin Cook, that's going to make life easy on Kirk Cousins. The Detroit defense, they don't really have anything special to them at all. Trey Flowers went on the IR earlier this week, so they're going to be missing their best edge rusher. They really don't have much of an edge rush outside of him. They don't really have a linebacker core. They don't really have a secondary. Jeff Okudah is coming off his better game of his rookie year, but they still don't have much pieces around there. So I think Dalvin Cook's going to have an opportunity to have another good game. I think, Justin Jefferson could have a great game. I think Adam Thielen could have a great game. And I think this offense can be able to move the ball. I know Vikings fans might want a top pick, but they might find themselves in a little winning streak here in the middle of the season. I'm not sure who they got next week, but I think the Vikings are going to find ways to score the ball. I honestly, this feels like two bad defenses going against offenses that have the potential to put up points. So it's going to be a shootout. I think they're going to go back and forth throughout the day, but I do think the Vikings are going to pull this off. I think that win over a Packers, a first place in the NFC North type of win, that's going to give them a little bit of confidence going forward. So, and you're kind of looking at a up and down Detroit team. Stafford's not going to practice all week. He's missing Kenny Golladay. So there's probably going to maybe be those opportunities where that offense stalls because of maybe they lacked some chemistry this week from the lack of practice. So, I'm going to go with Minnesota on this one. I think they squeeze out a shootout type of win. They win like a 28-24 type of win for Minnesota. And I'm going to go ahead and get into this next matchup. We got Carolina traveling to KC to face the Chiefs. The Panthers, their injuries. Marquise Haynes has not practiced this week with a shoulder injury. And then Jeremy Chin has been limited with a knee, as well as Russell Okung with a calf. On the Chiefs side, Mitchell Schwartz has not practiced this week with a back injury. And then Frank Clark has been limited with a knee, as well as Sammy Watkins with a hamstring. Carolina was a great story, but now they're kind of coming back down to earth. I still believe in Matt Rule and that team going forward, but they still need some more experience on that defensive side of the ball, and they're going to get some invaluable experience going against this KC offense with Patrick Mahomes. I expect they're going to be able to pick them apart in the passing game. They might get Sammy Watkins back. That'll just make that offense even a lot easier to move the ball. I just don't know how the Panthers defense is going to slow them down. There's too many mismatches in certain areas. Travis Kelce, I think, is going to have a good day against their linebackers. And then it's either maybe they find a way to slow down Tyreek Hill, but it's going to be a like McCole Hardman, Demarcus Robinson. One of those guys are going to go off. And the Panthers, they are one of those teams that kind of do struggle to stop the run as well. So maybe we see a healthy dose of CEH and Le'Veon Bell in this matchup. Maybe both of those guys have a bounce back game after kind of letting Patrick have his day last week. But I do think the Chiefs are going to find the end zone more times than not on Sunday. Now, the Panthers offense, their key though, if they're going to want to win this game, is they're going to need that defense to take risk and try to get turnovers. And if they can get the turnovers, the offense needs to repay them and get those time-consuming touchdown drives. They're expected to get Christian McCaffrey back. Use a healthy dose of him and Mike Davis and try to move the chains as much and keep your offense on the field for as long as you can, but also make sure in those drives you can score the points. KC's defense is playing better, but they are also expected to miss Chris Jones this week. He was listed as a close contact with somebody, so he's currently on the list for KC. So he's going to be out. So maybe Christian McCaffrey and Mike Davis can get the run game going. If that can get things going for them on the ground, then that will open up things for Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore, and as well as Curtis Samuel. So they got some of the pieces to maybe get into a shootout, but you don't really want to get into a shootout with KC. The teams that try to get into a shootout typically lose. You want to be the team that controls the ball, takes the chances on turnovers, takes the chances on some deep shots throughout the game, but most importantly, just keep the ball moving, keep your offense on the field, and make sure those drives result in touchdowns. So if they can do that, maybe they pull off the upset, but you can't pick against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs should be able to win. They're at home. I think they honestly should win by like 10 points, but I like Carolina. I like Matt Rule. I like their ability to maybe keep it competitive. So I'll say Chiefs win by a touchdown. They win like a 31-24 type of win from KC. And then we got a AFC bottom dweller matchup going on. We got Houston traveling out to Jacksonville to face the Jaguars. A little thing I found funny, I saw this yesterday, because if anybody's a listener of not only I think I've said it on this podcast, but the Football Happy Hour, we have been clamoring for J.J. Watt to get traded throughout the year. And one of the things I harped on was I think J.J. Watt probably understands. He's older. He is an injury-prone veteran. So he probably doesn't want to sit around for a rebuild. Well, he came out and said that yesterday. He said, I am not looking for a rebuild. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with J.J. Watt, because more than likely this team is like, I don't see Houston being able to flip things around and go contend for a Super Bowl by this time next year. So they probably do have to rebuild this thing around Deshaun Watson and compete for a Super Bowl. And I think they can, if they do things right in the draft, if they do things right in free agency, possibly 2 years, more than likely 3 years. So I would not be surprised. And I would hope, as a JJ Watt fan, that he is on a contender for the 2021 season. So, but let me go ahead and get into this matchup. Sticking on the Texans, only one other player hasn't practiced this week. It's Kyle Emanuel. He's with a concussion. And then on the Jaguar side of the ball, man, they're coming off a bye week and they're super banged up still. That's never a good sign. Gardner Minshew, he's expected to not play with that thumb injury. So we're going to see Jake Luton, a rookie quarterback from Oregon State, who supposedly they were very high on from their training camp this past year, which explains why they didn't want to release him, even with the Mike Lennon start signing. So we'll see if maybe he can help out their offense. But some other guys haven't practiced. Divine Exigbu with a hamstring, Cam Robinson with a knee, Brandon Watson with a hamstring, Dakota Allen with an ankle, and all these players have been limited. AJ Cam with a shoulder, Brandon Linder with a hip, Miles Jack with an ankle, Sidney Jones with the ribs, and Gerard Wilson with a hamstring. I mean, I don't know what really to say on this kind of matchup. It's going to be a bad defense versus a bad defense, and then you got Deshaun Watson, a star quarterback that has the offensive pieces to put up numbers against that Jaguars defense, and then you got a Jake Luton, a rookie quarterback that we really don't know much about and how he's going to look, because we didn't get to see the how him in the preseason and how you would throw the ball. So let's see here. Let's start with the Jaguars, right? Just talked about Jake Luton. You know, he could maybe be a quality backup in this league, but I don't really have high expectations for him. But maybe he can get things going, because the Texans defense, it has struggled throughout the year, especially against the pass. So maybe he can get things going to DJ Chark. Maybe he can go with Keelan Cole, Laviska Shenault, James Robinson. He's got a great matchup against a defense that not only can't stop the pass, they really can't stop the run. But I'm going to look at J.J. Watt to ball out. For some reason, I feel like he's going to have one of his better performances of the year. He's kind of angry, and I'm sure he wants to show out as the season goes on, so he can impress a potential contender to trade for him in the offseason. So I have a sneaky feeling J.J. Watt's going to get his hands on Jake Luton a couple times, and that's either going to lead to fumbles or maybe him pressuring him into forced decisions, which leads to interceptions. So I think with that being said, the Texas defense is so bad. I do think this Jaguars offense, they're going to move the ball throughout the day. I think it's going to be a shootout type of game, but I think with it being a rookie quarterback, that's going to really do this Jaguars team in at some point. He's going to make those rookie decisions, which lead to the turnovers. And then on the Texans side of the ball, you got Deshaun Watson, one of the better quarterbacks, if not a top 5 quarterback in the league, going against a defense that struggles to stop the pass. So I think he's going to go off all day. He's going to probably have over 300 yards. He's probably going to have 3+ touchdowns. You're going to see Brandon Cooks get one. You're going to see Kenny Stills get one. You're going to see Will Fuller get one. Maybe even David Johnson gets things going on the ground. I really think the Houston offense is going to throw all over this Jaguars offense. I trust Deshaun Watson over Jake Luton. Who doesn't? Pretty easy decision, right? I think anybody can make that decision. I think, my nieces and nephews would make that decision even at their young age. So, yeah, I'm taking the Texans. They win a shootout type of game. They win like a 35-28 type of win for Houston. Next matchup, we got a big AFC matchup that could potentially determine some playoff seeding down the line. We got the Baltimore Ravens traveling to Indianapolis to face the Colts. On the Baltimore side, these two players have not practiced. Mark Ingram with an ankle and Chris Moore with a thigh. And these four players on the Colts side have not practiced as well. Ashton Dulin with a knee, T.Y. Hilton with a groin, Mo Alley Cox with a knee, and then Marcus Johnson with a knee. And as far as this matchup, I think this is going to be a defensive battle, and who's going to win the turnover battle? I think whoever wins the turnover battle is going to win this game. Starting on the Colts side of the ball, Philip Rivers, the last two games have been playing great as they've been opening up the offense, especially in the passing attack. They were not really getting much going on the ground. Jordan Wilkins had a good game last week, but they still are waiting for Jonathan Taylor to emerge. They're going to have a tough matchup though, going against this Baltimore defensive front. It's a strength on strength. Colts offensive line against that defensive front, and who can win that battle? They can generate any type of pressure on Philip Rivers. That's going to cause turnovers. But if the offensive line can protect him, if they can maybe generate some push and open up some lanes for a JT, for maybe a Jordan Wilkins and Naheem Hines, that's going to allow them to find some success on drives. But if T.Y. Hilton's out, Marcus Johnson, he's been a pleasant surprise, but he's also a DNP. So who's going to step up from the passing attack? I mean, can it be Trey Burton or Jack Doyle at tight end? Will it be Michael Pittman Jr.? I'd like to see him get going as well. So I think this Colts offense, they're inconsistent all year. They have their moments where they look good, and that's what we're probably going to see on Sunday. I think they're going to be at one point, they're going to probably have 3 and outs. Maybe Baltimore does get their hands on Philip Rivers, which causes the turnovers. But I also think there's going to be some drives where they just kind of get right down the field and get in scoring position. It's going to be an up and down day for the Colts offense. And then you switch side of the ball, the Ravens, they're having a great year, but when they face the Steelers, when they face the Chiefs, they have struggled against some good teams, but they're not exactly going against a high-powered offense, right? But they are going against one of the better defenses in the league, who is very great at stopping the run, and that's what Baltimore's offense does, is run the ball. So this is another strength-on-strength matchup. Who's going to be the one spying on Lamar in the passing situations? Is Darius Leonard just going to keep his eyes on Lamar and follow him all over the field? What's their plan of attack? I do think they have enough to slow down the running game, but I think there's going to be opportunities, especially on that field, where Lamar is going to find a hole and he's going to get a chunk and explosive play on the ground. Again, I think this is going to come down to turnovers. So when they do get the Ravens in those 3rd and long situations, can they take advantage of it? Can DeForest Buckner maybe collapse the pocket and make Lamar make those quick decisions? And can a guy maybe like a Kenny Moore or Julian Blackmon get their hands on the ball? But I think the Ravens offense will be kind of like the Colts offense on Sunday. I think they're going to have their opportunities where they just get things going on the ground. But then maybe the next drive, they have a couple dud plays to start, and they're in 3rd and long situations, and the Colts can get off the field or force those turnovers. I do think it's going to be a defensive battle. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game with some potential explosive plays. Man, I think it's going to come down to who can kick the field goal last. Colts are a home team. You guys already know I'm a Colts fan, so I want to lean their way. I feel like we all kind of know the Ravens aren't who they are and how to stop them. I think the Colts have the pieces on defense to stop them more times than not. I really do. So I'm going to say the Colts do win by a field goal. Could see Baltimore winning by the same way because they have the best field goal kicker in the league. But I'll say the Colts win a low scoring, let's say they win like a 20-17 type of win for the Colts. And then next matchup, we got the Seahawks traveling out to Buffalo to face the Bills. As far as news, there is no news. Let's take a look at the injury report. Both teams are pretty banged up heading into this matchup. On the Seahawks side, these following players have not practiced this week. Chris Carson with a foot, Mike Ayupati with a back, Benson Mayoa with an ankle, Shaquille Griffin with a concussion and hamstring, Carlos Hyde with a hamstring, Ugo Amadi with a hamstring, and David Moore with an ankle and back. And these number of players have been limited for Seattle. Jamal Adams with a groin, Ryan Neal with a hip, Greg Olson with a foot, Quentin Dunbar with a knee, Dwayne Brown with a knee, DJ Reed with a hamstring, and Travis Homer with a knee. And then you look at the Buffalo side, these falling players have not practiced. Daryl Johnson with the knee, Taiwan Jones with a hamstring, Matt Milano with a pec, Mitch Morse with a concussion, Josh Norman with a hamstring, TJ Yeldon with a back. And these 4 players have been limited this week. We got Cody Ford with a knee, Quentin Jefferson with a knee, Brian Winters with a knee, and Dawson Knox with a calf. Now, this is a really good matchup that I honestly don't know who to pick. We got Buffalo. They're somewhat getting back on track, but again, they went against a Jets team that they barely squeezed off that win by 8 points, and then they barely squeezed off a win against a down Patriots team. So this is an opportunity to prove that they can beat one of the better teams in the league. Josh Allen has an opportunity to have a great day. Seattle's defense has struggled throughout most of the year. They struggle to stop the pass, so I think Stephon Diggs could have a good game. John Brown can maybe have a bounce-back game. Cole Beasley getting things going in the slot. But most importantly, they need to do what they did last week and get that running game going and keep it going and keep evolving that between Devin Singletary and Zach Moss. Because if this offense can be a threat from the running back position as well as the quarterback and wide receiver position, that's when they're going to get back to putting up those bigger numbers that we saw at the beginning of the year. But if Jamal Adams, he's now kind of getting some practices in this week, so maybe he does make his return and he can make that difference for the Seattle defense. But if Jamal Adams is not in that lineup and then all these other guys in that defensive lineup are banged up, I think Seattle's going to struggle throughout the day to stop the Buffalo Bills offense. I think Josh Allen's going to have a good game through the air and with his legs as well too. Now, switching sides of the ball, then you got MVP Russell Wilson. He's been balling out, and then you got DK Metcalf, who's a man amongst boys in the NFL league. Tyler Lockett, who's great, and then it doesn't matter who plays the running back position because they just fill the role in Pete Carroll's system and they get the job done, like we saw with DJ Dallas last week. But it does sound like Chris Carson is going to try to practice today and try to make his return. But I really don't think that matters much because the Buffalo defense, they're struggling to stop a lot of things. They can't stop the run. So if Seattle's get the running game going, that's going to open up things for Russell Wilson to kill him through the air. And outside of Tre'Davious White, sure, I like a Dane Jackson, but there's a lot of inexperience in that cornerback group. So a guy like Tyler Lockett can go off, and maybe Greg Olson from the tight end position, Will Disley as well. So I think both offenses are going to have a good day, and they're going to pick apart the defense. So with that being said, it's going to come down to which defense can maybe take advantage of some risky throws and try to get those interceptions, maybe get the sacks, force fumbles. I think this is going to be opposite of that Baltimore Colts game where, I think it's going to be a defensive matchup in that game. That comes down to who can win the turnover battle. I think we're going to see a offensive shootout in this game, and it's going to come down to who can win the turnover battle. So which defense can take advantage of that. A lot of you guys do. I do want to bring up the stat though. I heard it from Evan Kaplan from ESPN that's on the Schefter podcast. I always talk about these West Coast teams that travel out to the East Coast typically struggle, typically don't win, have a slow start. But Seattle's different. They have now won 10 straight games at the 1 p.m. slot, traveling from the West Coast to East Coast. So I can't even factor that into this game. honestly, this is one of the games of the week. It sucks that this game will be going on during the Colts and Ravens game, because obviously that game is going to be on the big screen on Sunday. But yeah, I can't wait to see who wins this game. Like I said, I think it's going to come down to turnover battle. Hey, I'm not trying to take anything away from Josh Allen, because I really do like Josh Allen. But if you ask me who I think is going to have more turnovers, Russell Wilson or Josh Allen, I'm going with Josh Allen would have more turnovers than Russell Wilson. So sorry, Bills. Team of Football Happy Hour. I'm going to pick against you. I think the Seahawks win a shootout, 31-27. But don't get me wrong. So you tell me the Bills win the turnover battle and Josh Allen plays a clean football day, I would pick them as well. But I will go ahead and officially pick the Seahawks to beat the Bills on Sunday. Let's go to this last 1 p.m. slot game. We got Denver traveling out to Atlanta to face the Falcons. As far as injuries for Denver, A.J. Bouye has not practiced with a concussion, as well as Deontay Spencer with a shoulder. These 4 players have been limited for the Broncos. Bryce Callahan with an ankle, Philip Lindsay with a foot, Tim Patrick with a hamstring, and Nick Bennett with a foot. On Atlanta's side, these 4 players have not practiced. We got Calvin Ridley with a foot, Dante Fowler with the hamstring, Tack McKinley with a groin in his mouth, if anybody missed that. Or not even mouth, I guess your fingers. He tweeted out all that trade information. And supposedly he did get fined for that. Jordan Miller with an oblique. And then Russell Gage has been limited with this week with a shoulder and knee. This is a kind of weird matchup, right? I don't really have much memory of the Broncos and the Falcons facing off too much, except did they face off for one of Denver's Super Bowls? Was that the Dirty Bird year? I don't remember. But yeah, we got Falcons. They're coming off a win, right? They did win this last game. Am I sure? Yeah, they beat the Panthers. So yeah, they're coming off a win. But I don't know. They're still without a coach. Calvin really hasn't practiced. Dante Fowler hasn't practiced. Tack McKinley hasn't practiced. And then you got the Broncos, who are sitting at 3-4. They just made a comeback win against the Chargers. They have more to fight for than the Falcons. So I think Denver's going to have a better game overall. The Falcons defense, they struggle. And I think that's going to continue on Sunday. I think Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay are going to be able to get the ball going on the ground. And that's going to open up things for Drew Lock. I think Noah Fant's going to have a great day through the air. I think Jerry Jeudy, I feel like he's going to have his also a breakout performance. I really think this Broncos offense is going to have a great day. I don't know why. I really think they're going to be efficient. They're going to have explosive plays. And they're going to find the end zone more times than not. And now with switching sides of the ball, Atlanta's offense, they have the capability, though, of being in a shootout with them. But if they're missing Calvin Ridley, that's going to hurt. Their offense can be inconsistent, but as long as Julio is on the field with Matt Ryan, they're more than capable of tearing apart this weaker secondary of Denver. I think they are going to find ways to have their drives, but I think they're going to find drives that they have times that they stall. I have a feeling Denver's going to be able to bottle up their running game and make them very one-dimensional. And then Bradley Chubb's going to be able to get after Matt Ryan if Denver's offense can be as efficient as I think they're going to be on Sunday. With that being said, I really don't got much to say on this game, because we already know Falcons are going to be out of the playoffs. They're going to be a team that could be an upset team. I just don't think it's going to happen. I really think this is going to be a Denver type of easy win. I think Denver wins by like 7 points. I think they end up winning like a 31-24 type of win. Even if not more, we'll have to see how the team performs. Now I'm about to get in my 4 p.m. games. Just give me 1 second, guys. Get a little coffee in my throat. Kind of get a little dry there for you.
Yeah, man, my dude gets parched with all this info he's dropping on you, man. Can't wait till we ought to charge him for all this. You guys are lucky this is free.
Well, if any NFL team wants me to consult for them, I'll gladly do
Bada
that.
big, Houston, you've done it wrong so long. Just give my boy a chance here.
Right. Exactly. I know there'll be a lot of upset people wondering how I got a GM job, but I'm still wondering how a pastor got a GM job. No offense. Easter being. No offense to the Lord either. But let me just go ahead and get into these 4 p.m. game, guys. We got Las Vegas traveling out to LA to face the Chargers. Here's something that came out last night. It looks like the NFL is trying to, make sure we get the season finished with no delays or no more further postponements. Is the NFL is going to fine the Raiders $500,000. They're also going to fine John Gruden $150,000, and they are stripping the team of a 6th-round draft pick and protocol violations related to Trent Brown's positive test in late October. They said the escalated fines and picks were due to being a repeat offender. And then I think that I didn't get the numbers pulled on time for another team, but yeah, they're fining the Steelers as well too. So yeah, the NFL is trying to make players and coaches aware, like, hey, we're going to get through this one way or another. So if you want to keep on getting fined, then keep it up. But let's talk real football. I'm gonna go ahead and get into this injury report for Vegas. Jonathan Abram, he hasn't practiced this week with an illness, as well as Jeff Heath with a hip, Maurice Hurst with an ankle, Josh Jacobs with a knee and an illness, Arden Key with a foot, Colton Miller with an ankle. And then these 3 players have been limited. Gabe Jackson with a back, Sam Young with a knee, and then Trayvon Mullen with a hamstring. And then on the Chargers side, Joey Bosa hasn't practiced with a concussion, as well as Tremaine Pope with a concussion. And then Brian Bulaga with a back has been limited. Isaac Rochelle with a neck, and then Trey Turner with a groin. Now let me go ahead and get into this game. I think this is going to be a really good game. I really do. I think we're going to see a classic AFC West back and forth type of battle with LA. This is a game I'm ready to see if the Raiders can finally win me over. I've always kind of been pessimistic against the Raiders. More times, I'll be honest with you guys, I like to have fun with Jack just because he's such a Raiders homer. But I am looking for the Raiders to prove it to me. Now, some of you might wonder, but Cody, the Raiders, they beat the Chiefs. They beat the Browns last week, all winning teams. Yeah, that's what I'm impressed by. But then you go look, and they got shellacked by like the Patriots, and we now know who the Patriots are. And their record is they're only at 4-3. If you told me they beat the Chiefs and the Browns, they're sitting at like 5-2, 6-2 or whatever. Yeah, I think, or I would definitely be buying into them. But they had their games like this one where, if they lose this game, that just shows me they are who they are. They can maybe beat a team on any given week, but they're also going to be a team that can't go to the playoffs because they struggle against a team like the Chargers. So yeah, this is a prove-it game for me for the Raiders going forward, if I can trust them as a potential contender in the AFC. But yeah, starting with them, their offense, Derek Carr, I'll give kudos to him. He's having a very solid year from the quarterback position. And then he's got the passing threats with Henry Ruggs. Brian Edwards is now back in the lineup. Nelson Aguilar has had a good year. So we'll see if that can continue, but we'll see if he's got the time. Trent Brown, I think, is expected to miss the list because he had missed the game because he had that unfortunate doctor issue, which is weird. We've had already 2 of them this year. And then now he's been placed on the list too, as I think a close contact. And then Colton Miller has not practiced. So if Colton Miller gets ruled out, they're going to be lacking their 2 starting tackles. And now, obviously, we have to see if Joey Bosa will clear concussion protocol, but they still got Melvin Ingram and Uchenna Nwosu that can get after the quarterback. So I think this Chargers defense will be able to get after Derek Carr and pressure him. But I think the Raiders offense will have their drives where they get the ball going. Josh Jacobs hasn't practiced this week, but I kind of feel like he will play. He typically plays through his injuries. Obviously, we'll have to see the report that will come out at some point today. But I think they're going to be able to get the ground game going. What this will come down to, though, is the Chargers be able to get after Derek, getting the pressure, and then maybe they can turn that pressure into turnovers, into interceptions. But I think the Raiders are going to be able to find the end zone a few times as well. But then you switch sides of the ball. Justin Herbert, he's having a great rookie year. He's putting up the ball through the air, and then he's going against a struggling Raiders defense. The Raiders, they're up and down against the pass. They're up and down against the run. I think Justin Jackson and Joshua Kelly are going to have a very solid day. And I think Justin Herbert's going to have a great day as well. Keenan Allen's going to be able to get things going. Trayvon Mullen, probably their best cornerback, is dealing with a hamstring injury. That's not a good thing to have when you're going against Keenan Allen. I think Mike Williams can get going. I think Hunter Henry can get going. So I think this is going to be an offense that's going to be able to move the ball, but we'll see how their offensive line performs. Brian Bulaga, I think, is back. We'll see if Trey Turner's back. If their offensive line is intact, that's going to help out. But if it's not, maybe, a guy like Max Crosby can have a great day against that offensive line. I think they're going to be like the Raiders. I think they're going to have their drives where they find the end zone, but then they're going to have their drives where they stall just because of either good plays by that Raiders defense or just, rookie mistakes by Justin Herbert. I think this is going to be a game that comes back. They're going to be back and forth. I think it's going to be a one-score game throughout the day, throughout the fourth quarter. Who has the ball last? LA, typically, if it's a one-score game, we've seen it. They're probably going to lose. I just have an itchy feeling the Chargers win, and we just see who the Raiders are. I'm sorry, Raiders Nation, wherever you want to call yourself, please come at me on Twitter if you win. But I am going to pick the Chargers in an upset. I think this is going to be one of the games they figured out they win. But they had to kick a field goal to win. They win like a 24-21 type of win.
Can I ask you a question real quick, Cody? Because we're speeding through it anyway today. Do you how many more losses before Lynn's on the hot seat for real? Like, they've been in the fourth quarter. What is it? 4 games they've lost in the fourth quarter this year? Like, that's insane.
I think he's already on the hot seat. I think he is. I don't think the GM should be, because the GM has put together a great team.
But that's the job to have if you're a coach. Give me Herbert. Give me all that talent. Oh, yeah. I'll take it.
Yeah. And LA, too. Right. So, yeah. I think he already is. And if he doesn't turn things around here shortly, and I do apologize if you hear that air blower outside. My apartment complex is still working on things here.
Here, you want me to give him answer this question, then I'll give you a commercial break if it's still going on, okay?
Okay, yeah. I know. I think he's on the hot seat. I mean, it's pretty simple.
All right, let's go ahead and throw it to commercial real quick. Give him a minute to finish that up then.
Okay.
For over 100 years, the story has been written, ever changing and growing with each new chapter. The soul remains, though the characters change. Bigger, faster, stronger, smarter.
Ready or not, here I come. You can't hide.
So too grows our fandom. Start miles ahead. The 2020 Prospect Encyclopedia. September. Available on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and Blitzalytics.com.
All right, guys, we are back. Thank you for staying on and dealing with the guy. Literally, he left right when Rob started the commercial. But it is what it is. Gave me a little break. I'm going to go ahead and continue with these 4 p.m. games. We got Pittsburgh heading out to Dallas to face the Cowboys. As far as Cowboys, I literally, when we were on commercial break, I pulled it up to see if there was any news. I did see this. Mike McCarthy has yet to name a starting quarterback. So we are either going to get Garrett Gilbert, an AAF legend, or Cooper Rush will be the starting quarterback for the Cowboys, which I don't think will help them out much in this matchup, no matter who it is. Let's take a look at the injury report, though, on the Steelers side. Tyson Alua hasn't practiced this week, as well as Isaiah Buggs with an ankle and Stefan Wisniewski with a pectoral. And then Mike Hilton has been limited with a shoulder. On the Cowboys side, Chris Jones hasn't practiced with an abdomen. Ezekiel Elliott with a hamstring has been limited, as well as Aldon Smith with a knee injury. This preview is probably going to be quick. You got the Cowboys, who have completely been terrible on defense, and then they got a practice squad, one of these practice squad quarterbacks that are going to be leading the team on Sunday against a very stout and great defense in the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think this should be a game that the Pittsburgh Steelers walk all over the Dallas Cowboys. There should be no reason why this is even a close game. Their defense for Pittsburgh should be able to get after whoever the quarterback is, because the offensive line is all types of banged up. So I think TJ Watt, Bud Dupree are just going to wreak havoc on whoever that quarterback is. And that's going to be what happened to Ben DiNucci last week from the Eagles will probably happen to this quarterback. Forced turnovers and an easy, great field position for the offense. And then you already got an offense who has so many ways to attack you, either through the running game with James Conner, Benny Snell, or through the passing attack with like Chase Claypool, Juju, Deontay Johnson, James Washington, Eric Ebron. They're going to have a great day, whether it's through the ground or through the air. They're going to score touchdowns more times than not. They're going to win the turnover battle. Honestly, the Steelers should win this game by at least 2+ touchdowns. I think the Steelers win this game like a 34. How the Packers dominated the 49ers last night is how the Steelers should dominate the Cowboys on Sunday. I think they win like a 34. Like, I'll pick last night's score. They won a 34-17 type of win for Pittsburgh. And then I'm going to go ahead and get into this last 4 p.m. slot time matchup. Really quick on the Cardinals front, as I mentioned earlier, the Titans released Jonathan Joseph earlier in the week, and then he turned around and signed with the Arizona Cardinals. So obviously they see that they do need that help in the secondary. As far as injuries, though, the Miami side, Matt Breida has not practiced this week with a hamstring, and then Jamal Perry has been limited with a foot. These following players have not practiced for the Cardinals: Kenyon Drake with an ankle, Drake Kirkpatrick with a thigh. And these 3 players have been limited: Jordan Phillips with a hamstring, Jordan Hicks with an ankle and wrist, and then Ezekiel Turner with a toe. This is a very, very interesting matchup to me, because you got 2 teams that are currently in contention to make a playoff run as we get to the second half, as we start the second half of the NFL year. 2 teams that have 2 young quarterbacks at the quarterback position. We got Kyler Murray in his second year. And then we got Tua Tagovailoa, who's going to be making his second start. Now, obviously, Tua's first start was underwhelming as far as a stat performance, but he really wasn't asked to do much. But there's a potential he might be asked to do a lot if the Arizona offense can get going. So I'm looking for a great game out of Tua. I want to say great, just say something to build upon from Tua. He can. Arizona's defense has been solid, but he has an opportunity to kind of get in rhythm in this game. Arizona did trade for Marcus Golden, but we have to see how their pass rush will be without Chandler Jones. So if the Miami's offense can give Tua some time to throw the ball, I think he can get the job done with a Devontae Parker and Preston Williams and their tight ends that they have. But I do think the lack of a running attack will bite them in the butt at some point during this game. Matt Breida. Well, Matt Breida has not practiced this week. And then on top of that, Myles Gaskin was placed on IR earlier in the week. And so all they have right now is Jordan Howard, and they just traded for DeAndre Washington. who like I said, I'm not sure that trade happened on Tuesday, so I don't think he's going to be able to play. So they really don't got much going on in the running back position this week. So I think that's going to not help out Tua too much. But I'm just looking for something to build upon from Tua. But I think this Miami offense is going to have opportunities to move the ball, but I think they're going to struggle more times than not against the Arizona defense. You switch sides of the ball, Miami's defense, I like their cornerback group, right? Byron Jones, Xavier Howard, Noah the rookie. Those are guys that they can maybe go one-on-one with the Arizona passing attack. It'll be interesting to see how they do battle with DeAndre Hopkins. Does Xavier Howard or Byron Jones stick on him? Or do they kind of switch on and off? Howard has him one drive and then Jones has him the next drive. It'll be very interesting to see how that plays out. And then they got the other two corners, whoever's not on DeAndre, they're going to be able to go guard Larry Fitz, Christian Kirk. So it'll be interesting to see who can emerge as a threat from this side, from the Arizona offense. Will it be Chase Edmonds out of the backfield? Will maybe a Christian Kirk have a breakout game? Maybe Larry Fitz has a classic Larry Fitz type of game. I do think this is a defense that can, I wouldn't say stop the Cardinals offense, but contain them. So it will probably, but more times than not, if they even stop the passing attack, Kyler Murray's going to get going on the ground with his little legs. So I do think they're going to find ways to make those explosive plays with Kyler Murray. He can extend drives. He can extend plays with his legs. So what that will allow is that's going to allow for people to find holes in this Miami defense, which the Miami defense, they're I like what they're building there, but they still lack a true edge rusher. Shaq Lawson is nice, but he's not consistent. So I think Arizona is going to find the end zone more times than the Dolphins offense will. I think this could be a potential good game if Miami can stick in it. But I think at some point Arizona pulls away. I'll say they win by a touchdown. They win like a – man, what – I don't know. I can't tell. The thing with this game, like, it's either going to be a lower scoring game than expected, or I feel like it's going to be a high shootout type of game. I'll say the Arizona wins like a 28-21 type of win on Sunday. And then we got a great matchup going on Sunday night. We got New Orleans traveling out to Tampa Bay to face the Buccaneers. As far as injuries on the Saints side, these two players have not practiced. Justin Hardy with a groin, Sheldon Rankins with a knee. And then this one's interesting. Drew Brees has been limited this week with a shoulder injury. And then Michael Thomas has been limited with an ankle and hamstring. So we'll see if Michael Thomas finally gets back into the lineup. And then on the Bucs side, this one will be huge if he can't clear concussion protocol. But Ali Marpet has not practiced for Tampa. And then these four players have been limited. Mike Edwards with a groin, Chris Godwin with a finger, Scotty Miller with a hip and groin, and Jason Pierre-Paul with a hamstring. Now, this is a matchup I'm looking forward to watching on Sunday. Obviously, these two teams met back on week one. The Saints won. Tampa looked ugly, but since then, it's been complete opposite. New Orleans has been looking more like of the uglier team, the team we don't know who they are. Michael Thomas has not only been banged up, but he's been fighting players. The offense is very inconsistent, but we'll see if they can get back on track against the Buccaneers. And then you look at the Bucs side since that week one matchup, the offense has been slowly but surely figuring themselves out. They get Antonio Brown back this week. They signed him, and they will get him in that lineup this week. And then on top of that, what's his name? Cameron Jordan was basically running his mouth about Tampa last time they faced. So he left plenty of bulletin board material that I think Tampa is going to want to go in on Sunday and kick the New Orleans Saints ass. I really do. I think they're going to be a highly motivated team. But let's look at things like from the Bucs side. If Ali Marpet can't play, that's a big loss. Because if they cannot protect Tom Brady, anytime that we saw that they cannot protect Tom Brady this year, I mean, it's Tom Brady's, it's how to beat Tom Brady, right? You get pressure on him, they're going to struggle. So if Ali Marpet cannot go and the Saints can find a way to generate interior pressure at that spot of the offensive line, it's going to make a long night for Tom Brady, even with the addition of Antonio Brown. We'll see if Chris Godwin can play too. But like I said, I think this team's going to be so dialed in on Sunday night. I think they can make up for even if Ali Marpet doesn't play and figure out the pass protection. And Tom Brady is going to find ways to pick apart the Saints defense that has struggled to stop the pass. I think Antonio Brown's going to have a decent debut. I think Mike Evans, this is going to open up things for Mike Evans. I think he could have a good game. But we'll see if they can get things also going on the ground, because the Saints have one of the better rush defenses, and they have not allowed a single player to go over 100 rushing yards in like 40-plus games. So this is going to be dependent, I think, on Tom Brady in that passing attack, and I think he's got plenty of options to throw it to have a great day or a great night on Sunday. I think they're gonna pick apart the Saints defense. And then you switch sides of the ball. Like I was talking about earlier, Saints offense is very inconsistent. Their offense is basically ran through Alvin Kamara. So as long as Tampa Bay, the Levante David and Devin White can contain Alvin Kamara, I think it's going to be a long night for that Saints offense. We'll see if Michael Thomas can play, but even if he can play, he'll be banged up. If he's banged up, that's going to make life easier on the Carlton Davis or a Jamal Dean to cover him. So as long as they can cut off that connection between him and Drew Brees, they can contain Alvin Kamara, I think the Saints offense would be able to struggle. But again, this is a divisional matchup. This is Sean Payton. He's going to have some tricks up his sleeve. So I do think the Saints offense is going to move the ball, and they are going to find ways to put up points. Because there's one thing, though. There's a couple things. This Tampa defense, it's good. It's good. But there's a couple things that you can get them on. Shaq Barrett and Jason Pierre-Paul have not lived up to expectations from the edge rush position. They really don't have much of I'll have to look up the sacks when I put together my article tonight. But they haven't really been the pass rush tandem that some people have thought they would be, and we've seen it this year. This passing, the secondary, they have their moments where they can give up big plays. I mean, if Daniel Jones just looks to his left on Monday night, Darius Slayton had like a 50-yard touchdown when he beat Jamal Dean on a route. So there's opportunities to beat this team deep as well. So I think Sean Payton's going to catch them slipping a couple times. I do think it's going to be a good game. But I think Tampa's going to win. They're going to split the series. I think they are a better team overall right now. And like I said, I think the bulletin board material is going to have them motivated. But usually these teams, when they face off each other, it does usually come down to a one-score game. So I'm going to say the Bucs win like a 31-27 type of win on Sunday night.
Hey, bro, you should go ahead and take a drink because I'm looking at this list that you're about to read. This is the longest injury list we have ever had on this. This is like a page by itself, my dude. This is insane. It may be quicker to list who's playing on Monday.
Yeah, dude. It's unreal. Like when I was working on this last night, I was like, all right, Monday night game. I'm gonna wrap this up, and then I'm gonna, enjoy the rest of my evening. And then I pulled up the injury report. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. and I started to type away. It did take some time to get all these names on the list. All right, as Rob alluded to, a lot of injuries heading into this matchup. Now, first of all, this is the Monday night game. New England is traveling to New York to face the Jets. Now, as I always say when I bring up the Monday night report, this is the first day of practice. So usually the first day of injury reports, there are guys that are given the day off and they'll return. So this is something to monitor going forward. But either way, both teams are super banged up.
I did the count. 17 Patriots, 13 Jets for a total of 30 people on this injury report.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and just name them all for everybody. These five players have not practiced for New England yesterday. Carl Davis with a concussion, Stephon Gilmore with a knee, Lawrence Guy with a shoulder, elbow, and knee, N'Keal Harry with a concussion, and J.J. Taylor with an illness. And these number of players have been limited Jawan Bentley with a groin, Shalik Cahoon with a knee, Kyle Duggar with an ankle, Damian Harris with an ankle, Ryan Izzo with a hamstring, J.C. Jackson with a knee, Dalton Keene with a knee, Shaq Mason with a calf, John Simon with an elbow, Joe Thuney with an ankle, Dietrich Wise with a knee and hand, and Isaiah Wynn with an ankle. And that's just New England. On the Jets side, these number of players haven't practiced. Blake Cashman with a hamstring, Jamison Crowder with a groin, Sam Darnold with a shoulder, Nathan Shepard with a back, Quinnen Williams with a hamstring. And then these number of guys have been limited. Josh Andrews with a shoulder, Sam Ficken with a groin, John Franklin Myers with a shoulder. With a knee. Jordan Jenkins with a ribbed shoulder, Connor McGovern with a knee, Rashad Perryman with a concussion, Vincent Smith with a groin, and Trayvon Wesco with a ankle. And this is going to be very quick for you guys. I always do this. First of all, why do we have the Jets on Monday Night Football? Like, I don't understand that. Like, when the schedule makers made this game, like, what was your thought? Like, because like everybody knew back in May or April that the Jets were going to be bad. Like, it wasn't like, oh, the Jets might be good this year and they could be competing with New England for the AFC East at this point of the year. Like, who really honestly thought that? But again, I guess it's New York. It always comes down to markets. Those fans will always watch their team. But still, come on. Let's start on this. I think New England's going to easily win. It's the Jets. The Jets are awful on both sides of the ball. Sam Darnold didn't practice yesterday. Quinnen Williams didn't practice yesterday. You still got Bill Belichick, the defensive mind. He's going to be able to cook something up against this terrible offense. And then, I mean, even though they lost the game against the Bills, they were getting that rushing game going between Damian Harris and Cam Newton. And the Jets have nothing to stop them on defense. Quinnen Williams is having a great year for the Jets, but he's on the injury report as being a banged-up player. So, yeah, I think the Patriots are going to walk away to an easy win. Now, maybe all those injuries catch up to them, and maybe this is the one game the Jets can pull off a win. Now, if the Jets win this game, ooh, man, it's going to be a dumpster fire.
If the Jets win this game, everything is Tom Brady. That ends the argument. It ends the argument. Tom Brady was responsible for everything at that point.
I don't want to get into that, but I think the Patriots win though. They should be able to win by at least 7 to 10 points. They win like a 31-21 type of win on Monday. And then I see you put them down there. I forgot to list them on there because we covered them on the football happy hour. I did say last week I'll give out my midseason awards. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Thanks for putting that in there as a reminder too, Rob. So if you guys, I won't go into too much depth. I don't have the stats in front of me. We kind of talked about this on the football happy hour. I want to say it was the second quarter we did that in. Go right there on our YouTube channel or our Blitzologix podcast network and listen to that episode if you haven't. But let me just go ahead and run over them really quick. My MVP for the first half of the year is Russell Wilson. My offensive player of the year is Alvin Kamara. My defensive player of the year is Aaron Donald. My offensive rookie of the year is Joe Burrow. My defensive rookie of the year is Jeremy Chin. My comeback player of the year is Ben Roethlisberger. My coach of the year so far is Brian Flores. And my executive of the year is Brandon Beane. I think Russell's going to stay in the top of the MVP. I think we'll see. Well, I could definitely see the rest of the awards changing though at some point, depending on performances going forward. But I have a feeling this is Russell's MVP year, just because I want it to happen because I called it prior to the season.
They owe him one anyway. Let's be real. They owe him one. If he's anywhere close to it, he gets it this year. I always try to throw out a fun, non-scripted question for you at the end. So. Let's make it something kind of simple. Give me, at this point, halfway through the season, obviously records are going to be something to consider here, but based on what you've seen, give me the top 3 picks of the NFL draft.
Like teams?
Yeah.
Jets, obviously number 1. I think the Jaguars will pick number 2, possibly even number 1 if the Jets find a way to get a couple wins. Man, that third team is weird because there are so many. bad teams.
I think it's going to be the Cowboys.
I don't think so. They'll win games once Andy Dalton gets back in the lineup. Man, it'd be crazy.
It really is a coin flip, though, for the third one, right? Like, the Jaguars, even though they put some fight in it, there's not a lot of talent left down there after parsing everything out. And the Jets are a dumpster fire. So, like, 1 and 2, I'm with you on. And then the third one, I mean, geez, it could be one of, like, 7 teams, I think.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't know who to pick. Because, like, you look at the Vikings and the Falcons, they both only have 2 wins. But you could easily see both those teams getting, like, a 2 to 3 more wins. You look at the Giants could possibly be there, but like again, like I have this weird feeling the Giants are gonna like play themselves out of like a top 5 pick.
Yeah, I know the defense is gonna.
Yeah, he doesn't want to hear that. Yeah, I can see the Cowboys. I can even see Washington being there because I still don't really necessarily trust their offense, even though I picked them to win today. Yeah, I mean maybe the Bengals or Chargers just because they still could need some help. Yeah, I think it's going to – I mean, Texans, but they'll probably win. Like I said, they'll probably beat the Jag. I think it's Jets, Jaguars, and then, man, it could be a toss-up between any of the other teams, I feel like. I think it's too early to tell. But, yeah, other than that, guys, that'll be the episode today. Thank you for everybody that tuned in live this week. Again, though, if you like the episode, please hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed to Blitzalytics on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to us. Also, make sure you subscribe to us on all podcast platforms, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, you name it. Just search Blitzalytics Podcast Network. You get the audio version of all of our shows on there as well. We're trying to grow that thing, and we're trying to grow this as well. So if you like us, you like what we produce for you, go tell a friend. Let's grow this thing. Let's get more people on here when we go live. Other than that, go buy this thing. Blitzalytics Prospect Encyclopedia, blitzalytics.com/shop to order you one. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I hope you enjoy the Week 9 games. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. See you guys next Friday. Blitz out.
Welcome back to Cody Talks NFL, presented by Blitzalytics.com. And here's your host, Cody Man.